people can't be defeated because you know that we can succeed it. Because you know policy's not what's needed. Why the U.S. government, by the Democratic or Republican? See me, I'm not supportive of it. Back in the day, see they must have thought of it. They had it planned out, so I'ma stand out and make some noise. We gotta straight race it. We out here and you know we must embrace it. One another, see, I'm trying to discover all of my peoples. We can't support the evil. We out here must see each other.
Welcome to Chicago Independent Television, a show independent of corporate and commercial interests. We show Chicago area grassroots media and provide an open space for locally produced media. I'm Mitchell Szczepańczyk, and I'm standing here in front of the friendly confines of Wrigley Field, the home of the Chicago Cubs baseball team, and a venue which has been untainted for 59 years by any World Series games. And that's not the only sports-related connection we can contrive. On today's show, we'll see a video short about an activity which might be our bid for the X Games, extreme dancing. We'll see an interview with Chicago activist Kathy Kelly, who spent some time in some unfriendly confines. And we'll see two videos shot near venues worthy of a World Series as we join Chicagoans who protested against the 2004 presidential debate in St. Louis and the 2000 Democratic Convention in Boston. Stay with us.
Hey, what's this about?
What?
Andy crossed his name off the cleaning schedule?
He backed out of the cleaning schedule.
How can you just back out? How can you do that?
Well, he's the most powerful roommate. Don't say anything about it. Just whatever you do, don't...
Hey, Andy, you're not going to clean on Friday?
No. No, you mustn't.
Bathroom? Hey! That's reasonable. I'll do Friday as well.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. First up is a video submitted by the Southwest Youth Collaborative. It features Shorty Brick showing us some extreme dancing.
You're losing.
the corner. She is a living in and out of a tune.
You're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Got some more trash. Bathroom?
Yeah.
What the hell? Was that our neighbor?
Yeah, that's Steve. He's bringing trash over. He pays Andy.
Our neighbors pay Andy to throw their trash in our bathroom?
Yeah.
Andy, you let our neighbors pay you to dump their trash in our bathroom?
Shut up!
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. And now part 3 of the interview we conducted last April with Voices in the Wilderness co-founder Kathy Kelly. In this installment, Kathy tells us what Voices has been up to recently and discusses the ongoing issues caused by our military presence in Iraq.
Voices in the Wilderness continues to want to keep people engaged in care and concern for people in Iraq, especially those who are most afflicted. When you think about that kind of triage setting, it does seem to us that people in the hospitals are still enduring horrible conditions from what we've read in the mainstream press and from reports of our friends in Iraq. We're also very conscious of people who are imprisoned and deeply appreciative of the Christian Peacemaker team efforts over there and wanting to support as we can to help people that are detainees, particularly their families, who often don't even know where the people are imprisoned or how to try to occasion due process on their behalf. We're very aware of people who've become homeless, either because landlords raised rents or because their situations were so desperate that they deliberately moved out of what homes they might have had and into camps that are simply almost unbelievable. They're the wreckage and the debris remaining from the shock and awe campaign, and people have actually moved in and tried to reconstruct something like shelter. So we have people on the ground in Iraq, a very small team, sending back messages. We have the Wheels of Justice bus tour going cross-country, trying to make sure that on campuses and in small towns there's just an opportunity to speak to whomever would turn out, because there's this big, brightly painted bus in town, and that's had a great deal of success. We also keep our websites updated and a constant flow of communication, both through email and phones, and we try to do as much writing as we can, knowing that each time something goes out in writing, then you're back into another round of correspondence to answer in regard to that. So it's quite busy here. We're very, very concerned about militarism here in the United States as well, both as soldiers return and as recruitment continues to bring more people into armies, with the junior ROTC on a lot of campuses across the United States, even some of the faith-based ones where you'd think there'd be more of a commitment to the works of mercy than to the works of war. There's a strong junior or ROTC or full-fledged ROTC program on a lot of those campuses. So we're gearing ourselves up increasingly to be able to help people look at how they can realistically claim their right not to kill, both through war tax refusal, but also through counter-recruitment and challenging the recruitment efforts on campuses and helping young people understand what conscientious objection is. So all of those things are kind of burbling right now. We don't claim to have all the answers with regard to Iraq, but we do believe that, with $67 billion being spent on force protection for the U.S. military and only $20 billion on reconstruction, that those proportions don't bode well for inspiring trust and confidence on the part of Iraqis toward people in the United States, especially when Halliburton alone has an $18 million contract, and it can be verified that they've already been taking kickbacks and making profits in illegal ways. It seems like there's something that you might call the great taboo surrounding the question, why would people feel so much anger, so much rage toward the United States that they would take it upon themselves to commit an act of hideous, gruesome destruction of civilian life and lose their own life in the process. We think we should claim our right to care enough to at least ask the question, why would people do that, and not think that somehow you're unpatriotic for asking the question. And I think it's a quick discussion. I think that people in other parts of the world don't want to be dominated by the United States or by a client state working for the United States. People don't want to live under occupation. People are flocking to see Mel Gibson's film, The Passion of Christ. I wonder how many people understand that the brutality Jesus suffered at the hands of the Romans was what was dealt out to anybody who practiced any form of insurrection against a Roman occupation. People don't want to live under occupation. Well, I think occupations often have a lot in common then and now. Living under occupation means interrogations and disappearances and persecutions and people being asked to turn in information on their neighbors or their colleagues, and it means mistrust, and it means attack and counterattack and spiraling, rising violence. And these are things that people don't want to continue. And so they, both in Palestine and in Iraq, will quite likely either collaborate with or look the other way as resistance develops. Now, what can be done? Well, I think we should try to find out what would be a more fair way in which to share this planet with other people. I mean, we take other people's precious and irreplaceable resources and expect to do that at, payment that would be considered cut-rate prices. Why can't we ask people who have the oil we want to take, the energy we want to consume, what would be a fair price? What would, really compensate you? And either pay those prices, which might mean more prices that are higher prices for our airfares or for our gas station prices or for our energy consumption to heat our homes or cool them down. Either pay those prices or learn how to live without those resources, learn how to live differently, live more simply so that others can simply live.
Hey, what are these dishes doing in the sink? I left a note for Andy to do them because they're his.
Oh yeah, he refused to recognize your note.
What? Why?
Because of its liberal bias.
Liberal bias? These are his dishes. He's using the note to deflect attention from the dishes.
What dishes?
These ones in the sink.
Wait a second. We're talking about your biased note. Don't try to change the subject.